episodes that don't matter really will not matter if your show is garbage.
Yeah,
if you're not giving us enough content.
Yeah.
You got to give us good content, and then those episodes that don't really matter will matter because we have bonded to those characters.
Yeah, I think that's why when you have a show and you have a lot of characters, it's really good to have interesting and good characters. Like Game of Thrones has a lot of good, interesting characters.
Alrighty, what up, you guys? I'm Bryson Smith.
And I'm Javin, and this is Etcetera. Oh, you can do it. There it is. Woo! Fuck yeah. My headphones are all bad. I don't know which one it is. Doesn't matter. So, hello again. Welcome, newcomers. I hope you like our new content, the hour-long videos. We're going to do another one today with our wonderful semi-co-host, manager, editor, all of the above, Scarlett Senpai. And we're going to talk yet again about, what is it, Bryson?
Fillers, specifically.
Yeah.
And how can we make them better? Or why is it a lot of them are bad? Why is it most bad? Most fillers are bad, and there's, very few fillers that are good.
Honestly, let's just start there. Why? Why the fuck are they so bad?
Okay, so my thoughts were, obviously fillers are just to fill up empty space. So I feel like when people are creating content, that's literally what it is. It's not driving the main story. It's literally to bypass time to I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Basically, they're trying to think of other things they could do to add to the main story, and so to fill that time, they just add fillers. And there's very few fillers that are actually good. Like we mentioned Bleach. I haven't even seen those fillers, but you said that it was really good, right?
There's one filler that's known as pretty fucking good in Bleach that never got into the manga.
Right.
I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard the premise of it. It's pretty interesting. But an additional thing, we're also including when animes deviate from the manga at all.
Right.
So it's like fillers as well as any deviation, stuff like that. Why do they always 99% of the time fucking suck?
Right. Let's talk about Promised Neverland though.
Let's fucking get into it.
So Promised Neverland season 2 is getting a lot of backlash, and they actually recently just ended it because they deviated from the manga. They literally deviated. They took out whole arcs and characters and stuff like that.
Like 3.
And we don't know why they did that. I thought maybe because of maybe it was production type of thing. Like maybe because a lot of those workers that do that are very underpaid. So I was thinking maybe they just didn't want to do all the work.
That must be.
I mean, we don't have the answers, but we do know that they literally deviated from the manga. And the manga was really good from what I've heard. Like I was just talking to my cousin about this last night, and she was telling me about the manga and how it sounded so interesting. She was saying that at one point they met into other survivors and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that already sounds engaging. And they were talking about their story and how they escaped and stuff like that. And none of that was in season 2 in the animation.
And spoilers, in the manga, they fucking fight demons. It's awesome. Anyway, they just skipped it. It's whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, see, they skipped whole things. And I was watching, I don't know if you guys are familiar with For Never World, but he recently uploaded a video about it. And he was talking about, he said they literally put a whole arc in a certain still image on Promised Neverland season 2. And I just thought that was so interesting because I don't know why they would do something like that. But yeah.
What were you saying?
I need to know why.
Why they did it? Oh.
Why? Because we can speculate, but I want to know why. Why does this happen? The first season is one of the most well-crafted first seasons of an anime I've ever seen.
I cried.
Yeah.
It was pretty emotional.
It was really the definition of intense and complexity, and also they utilized camera angles and lighting and they had atmosphere and energy and emotion.
Yeah.
All of the emotional cues hit. All the characters were well developed. Everything was amazing. And then why? Why did they do that?
In my mind, I'm thinking it's hard to keep. This mic is stuck in my boot. It's hard to keep intensity like that. Like when it's almost like when you movies or something. You have a really good solid movie, and then they come out with a part 2, and it's not as good as the first one. But the thing was, the part 2 was as good as the first one if you read on in the manga, from what I hear. And for whatever reason, they didn't do that. But I don't know.
let's actually talk about specifically why Promised Neverland Season 2 is actually that bad. Because it's actually pretty unique in terms of deviations. Because this actually does happen in the manga. What happens in Promised Neverland Season 2 actually does happen in the manga. Right. Most of it. And the deviations they do have aren't things that didn't happen. They just exclude certain parts.
Right.
But what's interesting is they skip, like you said, Bryson, 3 different arcs, all very good. I personally read the manga. It's very good. But what actually does happen in the anime happens in the manga. So why is it so fucking bad?
Because the execution is completely off. Like,
Terrible.
no emotional cues hit. Things felt rushed.
If they existed.
If they existed. If these emotional cues existed. They didn't take their time to establish atmosphere. They didn't have the characters didn't have, and I haven't even finished it. This is all based off of the first 3 episodes. I was like, this is entirely different from the first season as far as delivery and energy and character development and character motivations. They just did the storyline might have been the same, but they failed execution wise.
Well, I have a question. How often does anime deviate from the manga and it's still good? Do we know any examples?
Okay, so an example maybe is Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah.
They
but
deviated.
people hated on it. I still liked it, but I never read the original Full Metal Alchemist manga though.
But it's good enough to where there's controversy about it, as opposed to it being unanimously bad.
Right.
Brotherhood is obviously, I think it's the superior.
No,
anime.
Brotherhood is better.
It is better.
Yeah.
But the deviation wasn't terrible. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah,
it wasn't
still,
so bad.
Fullmetal Alchemist, the original, has a large fan base.
Yeah, I still liked it a lot.
There are a lot of problems, but that's an example where it's like, that's not so bad that you couldn't call it an anime, where you're like, you couldn't watch it and you couldn't enjoy it. Soul Eater, for example, is an anime where when they as soon as they deviated,
it was bad.
It went to garbage. Hot. That's a direct challenge to whoever made that happen. I will find you and I will hunt down your family for sport. Point is,
he's joking.
I forget the age we live in.
Yeah,
I am joking.
The age of the internet,
Clearly he's joking, you guys.
Completely a joke, guys.
No, I'm sure you're a good guy. I'm sure it was out of your control, but still, that's an example. More than that, Promised Neverland doesn't actually deviate that much. It just skips some parts. That's really it.
It's
small details.
A lot of things.
Because go ahead.
I was gonna say why. Yeah, I really don't know. I wish I knew. I want to know why a lot of these popular shows deviate from the manga.
So I guess with Promised Neverland, it's better to say that it just failed as a continuation. Not so much that it deviated, because he said everything that's happened in the show did happen in the manga, but it failed to execute that in animation properly.
Although I will slightly disagree with that in the sense that I would say that the fact that they did skip it literally changes the context of those scenes, and therefore is a deviation. Like,
Okay.
I think that's what Forever was saying too. The YouTuber I watched. Yeah, it changes the context of because you're missing portions and they kind of don't really add up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil anything because these guys haven't read it, but what I will say in this specific case, the reason it's so profoundly negative, like if you've never read the manga and you watch it, you'd still be like, what's missing? Like, this is so weird. And it's the fact that you spent a whole arc not relating with demons at all. You're like, these guys are monsters.
Right.
And you are relating with the humans who are directly affected by these monsters. So when you go to season 2 and you're immediately in this zany, wacky town with monsters carrying lifeless limbs, and they're like, man, I sure hope I can feed my kid.
Yeah.
You don't immediately think, oh man, I really sympathize with these guys. Wow,
Not
that's
at
really
all.
rough. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
And then all the main characters are like so nonchalant about it.
They don't react.
Yeah, which in
Where's
the
that
first
coming
season,
from?
the show is very reaction heavy, like exaggerated facial features of
Emotion.
pain and emotion and anger and confusion and suffering.
Even at the
heavy.
smallest things had such emotional impact. And now you're seeing children's heads in jars.
Jars.
And they're like, damn, I hope that's not me. Like, what?
Yeah.
Emma should be freaking the fuck out.
They should be sweating profusely, eyes wide, deer in headlights. She brought the 2 fucking kids to the town. I think that's the last episode I watched when she brought the 2 kids to the town, like allowed them to go. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They snuck out.
Yeah.
And they weren't terrified by everything that they were surrounded by. And I was just left confused. I'm like, what the fuck?
If you read the manga, does make sense. There is a linear logic to why they have these attitudes, why they believe these things.
Yeah.
And in the manga, you actually do sympathize with the demons. You're like, man, I don't agree with a lot of their actions, but I do acknowledge the reality of their situation because of everything you've been shown. But in this case, you're not shown any of that shit.
They didn't take any of that time.
And then it's like wacky hijinks. I
It's
swear
like
to God.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was like, this is fucking whack.
Teenage Mutant.
When they were jumping from building to building, I was like, I mean, that's cool, but we saw a little bit of Emma training with that one demon to become a hunter, but like they didn't show it. They're not ripped. They didn't show us their abs and how like I want to see them progress to the place that they are, not just they
actually grow.
Like
physically
characters, like
grow physically. Like they have aged, grow physically,
they're still little
get
kids.
buff.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't mind I think that'd be a nice touch if they aged by a few years or whatever, became teenagers or something.
Yeah.
We also never got the chance to see how they felt about humans hunting them down.
Yeah.
We never got the emotional beat relating to like, geez, these are people we're going to. We're going to where they came from, and they're hunting us down. Where's any of that? How did they deal with any of that?
Yeah.
They didn't.
Yeah. They didn't.
They didn't.
Spoilers for the 2nd season of Promised Neverland. They brought Norman back in the 3rd episode?
Yep.
I was
like,
I was done.
I wanted to fucking
I was
kill
done.
myself.
The whole scene that was set up and how he was brought back, I was like, that's it. Like they failed.
Did Norman come back in the manga as well?
Okay, yeah, and I want to talk about that. I know it's a little bit of a deviation, but it matters. Norman coming back was one of the most profound parts of the manga because of everything you've experienced up till then.
Yeah.
You're like, Norman's back, and then his actions afterward are incredibly important to the emotional tone of the story.
Right.
So when he killed those demons and he's like, hey, Emma, and they're like, Norman, that was completely hollow and had such a wildly different context in the manga.
Dang,
so
I could
different.
see that. Okay.
It's jarring where you're like, okay, Norman, you survived. Sure.
Versus the manga where it was like very intense and then he's back. You're like, oh,
I mean, there's still that feeling of like, okay, I knew he wasn't dead.
We all knew he wasn't dead because it didn't show him die. That's like, duh.
I literally thought he was dead.
What?
I really
I was
did.
like, they're not. If they
No
showed
body, no nothing.
Okay.
I really thought he was dead.
I felt like, okay, they didn't show him die, so he's alive. But I would have waited 3 seasons before I saw Norman
Easily.
if I had to, because the way that they set it up, I was I would have waited as long as it took to get that emotional payout.
Yeah, the payoff. That's a good
The
word for
emotional
it.
payoff.
And the anime was completely bereft of that, which ties us back to fillers. Why do fillers suck? I would say it's probably because of that exact fact. They lack context, and they don't pay off. They don't have the emotional weight of the series.
They don't drive
have
the
a
main
payoff.
storyline. I think a way to make fillers better. All right, like I was saying, I said this earlier, but I think they should just do, like, if you have a popular like side character or something, you should just do like for the next 5 episodes or 3 episodes or whatever, like sort of a background on a specific character and give them like their own kind of. Maybe it could be how they came about or some side shit they did with another dope character or something like that.
Yeah, like
that's what Naruto did, and I thought it was really cool. Like when Itachi got his own arc, that shit was dope. And you didn't need it, but it just gave more of a background on him and how he used to be with Kakashi, and they were both in Anbu. Like it was very engaging. It was really cool.
Yeah. Like no filler. Like if you need time to produce a show instead of filler, just only do backstory instead.
Mm-hmm. Or I think that's one way.
I think that's one.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good way. Okay, let's think about what a filler really is. It's when they catch up to the manga and they either need to fill it up, they need to fill time and just be like, okay, we just got to wait for the manga to go ahead. Or they go ahead on their own and deviate.
Right.
That's really what happens from an industrial point of view. Like, that's what you have to do to make money. You have to stay relevant. And if you catch up to the manga, you gotta chug ahead and make that money anyway.
Right.
We all understand that that's the reality. It may not be ideal, but that's what we've got. So with that in mind, what do you want to do? Why are people still watching your show? They're probably watching it for the characters and story. Well, story's not on your side anymore. You have to deviate. So, like you said, Bryson, well, then go to the backstory. Go to the characters. What makes them interesting?
Right.
And so, or you can extend the world. You can expand the world. Bleach did this apparently in one of their really well-known arcs where they go to hell. Hell is a concept that wasn't introduced. The underworld was, but hell wasn't a concept that was introduced in Bleach. And so they explored that and highlighted the heroes' powers and stuff like that, the villains. It was interesting, and it didn't affect the main plot at all other than to expand your sense of the world. I think that's a pretty good direction.
Right. I can't stand the fillers when it's like just nonsense. Like, man.
Robot Naruto.
That one, for example,
Ostrich
robot.
Ninja.
Like, they actually made that as a character in the Storm games too. The robot.
It was
The
funny as
ostrich
hell.
ninja in Naruto literally got several episodes. Several. It was
honestly,
an ostrich.
yeah, those really long series that have been around for, let's say, like 5 years plus, you will have fillers. Like you're going to.
So
have
do you think
fillers.
this is exclusively like a shonen thing? Because I
No.
can't point to a lot of
No.
anime that aren't shonen that have vast amount of
It's
fillers.
always the
Maybe
really
one?
long running anime
Yeah.
are going to have fillers at some
Yeah,
point.
and isn't that shonen? Like really long running anime are shonen,
Does
right?
Ghost in the Shell have fillers? Because I've never fully.
They have
through seen-
OVAs. I don't think.
Yeah,
they
I
have
think
fillers.
OVAs, which
Are
is
different.
how.
Those aren't really fillers though, because those are like side.
No,
things. Yeah,
those aren't fillers.
Those aren't fillers.
I think fillers only. I think fillers only are prominent in shonen. Actually, when I
You
think
know,
about it.
I've never thought about it.
I haven't watched much shoujo anime,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you must be right.
Is that only thing they
what?
do?
What about a?
And
Fuck it, I lost it. What's up?
and if they do that, why do they do that?
Shoujo
Oh,
anime.
No. Why? If fillers
Oh,
is
shonen.
exclusive to shonen,
I think because they're
Who
long
came up-
running.
And they're popular.
I think, and
It
they're
might be
based
because
off
they're
the
long
manga
running.
that's
Yeah.
continuously coming out, right?
Yeah.
So shonen are like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. Those are all based on
like
mangas that
Demon
were-
Slayer didn't have filler, did it?
As of right now, no.
I don't think.
Oh, as of right
yeah.
now, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the manga's still pretty far ahead,
Right.
as far as I know.
I think
Huh.
series that typically have less than 60 episodes might have a filler, maybe one.
Because really
Maybe?
short series don't have fillers. Like, let's say like 2 seasons of a show or whatever, 12 episodes each,
Yeah.
maybe even 15. You won't see many. I don't think you'll see any fillers actually. Like
Yeah.
each episode matters.
Yeah,
There's
and
no, there's no empty space.
so let's talk about that actually. An episode mattering. Do you think an episode mattering matters?
What? Yeah, if it matters, Javin.
Okay,
Right?
so there's some. I'm assuming most of you have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, which whether it's an anime or not is widely debated, but we're not here to discuss that. What
It is.
it is, which is why we're not debating it. There are 2 episodes, I believe, that are considered somewhat filler, in the sense that there's the dream episode with Aang. Yeah,
Where he's like has trouble
yeah.
sleeping. That was a beautiful episode.
It's a beautiful episode, but could you not watch it and still understand the show?
yes.
So does it matter?
But you could do that with most episodes. You could miss an episode and still watch the series and understand the show.
Not necessarily. Like there's Game of Thrones, right? You have to watch every episode.
They give you a lot
Period.
of information.
Every single.
Well, they're
episode.
hour-long episodes.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are.
And anime is usually like what, 22 minutes, not even 30 minutes.
Yeah, about 30 minutes. I'm saying that there are a couple episodes and shows that people are like, you don't have to watch that. While other
Right.
people are like, yeah, but they're so beautiful
That
that
means-
they're almost necessary.
But that means those don't matter.
Yeah, but does that bother you? Like, wouldn't you go out of your way to watch it to add emotional depth to what you're
Well, yeah,
watching?
especially as a fan of the show, I want to see everything that has to do with it. But after you watch certain episodes, you're like, you know what, that one didn't need to be there. But I really enjoyed it because I'm a fan of the show.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that certain shows get a pass and certain shows don't. So Avatar: The Last
Yeah.
Airbender was in its first season very episodic. So I think a lot of Avatar: The Last Airbender's content wasn't content that necessarily needed to be there, but was there to add flavor and sauce to the story and characters because it was a Nickelodeon show. With that being said, I think that everything that they added to the show that didn't necessarily need to be there, including that episode, added weight onto the characters that they just didn't have enough time to add because they had a runtime, you know?
Right.
So I think in those kind of circumstances, I think that when you have a really, really good show and you have really, really good characters, adding those episodes that don't really matter do matter because it's good. But when it's bad,
it's bad.
And your show is already stretched out.
Honestly, yeah, it just comes back to it being good.
Yeah. If you are already like kind of like, this show, like I love Steven Universe, but Steven Universe doesn't have a lot of main story content. So every time they have an episode about a side character, I'm like, you know what? I really just don't give a fuck about the people in this city. Can I get some plot, please?
It's only if it's a side character that's like interesting or that you like. I feel like.
And
That's
most
true.
of the when you do it a lot,
Like,
it just is.
Say for example, like in Naruto Shisui, we know literally nothing about Shisui, but he's so fascinating and so intriguing. We know that he was Itachi's best friend.
Oh, that's right.
And
Shisui?
and then there was the debate of
yeah.
did he die or did he not die? Because he just gave Itachi his eye, his Mangekyo Sharingan, and then he just jumped off a cliff, and that was it.
That was a really interesting. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about that.
And he
but
was
you're
also
right.
known as the what's it called? What's the name of the freaking Sharingan users? What's the name of their village? I'm having a brain fart.
Oh, Uchiha.
Yeah, the Uchiha.
Yeah.
He was known as like the fastest Uchiha or most talented Uchiha or some shit. Like he
Yeah.
was a very interesting side character who we don't even know much about, but everything about him is interesting. So like if Shisui for sure would have got his own episode, that would have been a very popular episode.
Yeah,
It's like
even
the
if
side
it was
character.
filler.
Yeah, that would be So the side character has to be someone who's intriguing in some way. And obviously the episode has to be good. But if you're just doing filler for like a side character that no one cares to know and he's not interesting and it just doesn't, it's not gonna work.
Episodes that don't matter really will not matter
Yeah.
if your show is garbage.
Yeah.
If you're not giving us enough content,
Yeah.
you got to give us good content, and then those episodes that don't really matter will matter because we have bonded to those characters.
Yeah. I think that's why when you have a show and you have a lot of characters, it's really good to have interesting and good characters. Like Game of Thrones has a lot of good, interesting characters. Same with Naruto, which is why if you want to do something with them, it's like you can do that. You kind of have that leeway.
Right. So fillers are essentially flavor, right?
Yeah, you
So-
can say that. Yeah. Like
This sounds like
salt.
a tall order, but maybe a good filler is something that adds such depth to something you hadn't thought about before,
Right,
to the
no.
extent that you're like, this might as well be in the story.
No, that's
Yeah.
literally it.
Yeah.
Like back to when I was talking about that Itachi arc thing. Like
Yeah.
that shit was dope, and it added like flavor. And then you got to see Kakashi a part of it too, which is also another popular character in the show. And to see them together and how they used to go about things when they were younger was very fascinating.
So how do you do that? Like, literally speaking, why did so many people fail at that? Because we've just maybe 20 minutes decided, hey, let's make filler arcs good. Why do so many people fail?
It could be deeper than this conversation. It could be like a money thing, like
Yeah,
being underpaid and stuff like that.
which they
So
are.
it's like, let's just push out some BS just to pass the time. And so they don't really go for it like how they could. And we know they could because these are talented people. They know how to write. They're creative enough to make something engaging if they want to. I really believe that.
But at the very least,
yeah.
why not just hire a writer? I feel like that's the most jarring part about all of this. It's like, if your manga writer isn't going to help you with the anime that you are deviating from, and none of your current writers are satisfied and are like, okay, I'm so fucking tired.
That
Or
requires money, you know?
it does require money. I'm just surprised that it doesn't. It's so often.
Yeah.
Every single time. It's so bad.
Fillers could be better if they actually took the time to make them, but
Maybe you're right. Maybe that is what
I
it is.
feel like they really could. I just think that there's other things that tie into it because
Yeah.
if we're having this conversation and we're just three minds and we're talking about how we could progress a certain filler and make it at least captivating, then I'm pretty sure they could do that too. And they're like,
so it's a matter of like,
yeah.
we were talking about this earlier before we started recording about how there was a fire at a studio that a previous employee
that was like last year.
set.
Yeah.
And that had us thinking that this could be a lot more bigger than them just being lazy or them not having the money, but it could be a lack of like, they're overworked and they're underpaid, and maybe because of that, they don't really give a shit about the content of this show that we all care about. But to them, it's just a job. Like that's their job.
Yeah.
And it's somebody's job to make it good. Usually the manga writer's job to make it good. It was whoever the manga writer was. It was their idea. It was their project. But the people producing it into a show, most likely they're not passionate about the show that they're producing. It is just a job.
It's money. They look at it. Oh, this is money.
So it's unfortunate, but we're taking it really personal when it might not be. I know that's a weird thing to say. Maybe not personal.
But it's like, at the same time, Promise Neverland. Going back to that. It's hard not to take it personally when that show was so profound.
But that was different. I feel like that's a different situation because they had the manga to go off of, and it was but maybe not. Maybe it's not that different.
I think it was a production thing. Maybe they didn't want to produce all
actually,
that
that would align with what I was saying. If the people producing the anime just didn't really care because it was just a job to them, that would make sense, actually.
Honestly, wild speculation. I have no idea what happened. We're not experts, any of us.
No.
I feel like my gut's telling me that the Norman reveal was tasty and it makes money. And since Promise Neverland got so popular off of such a short season, and they were pressured to produce soon, I'm not saying they didn't have enough time. I'm not saying anything, but I feel like some studio exec or somebody who's just like, let's just make a fuck ton of money off of this, made a fucked up decision and said, let's just do the Norman arc. People will eat that shit up. And
you can't do that though.
Yeah.
You can't do that, but I feel like somebody got greedy, and that's why that happened.
Anime is an industry.
It's an industry.
Anime is an industry, and
yeah, it was a money thing. It was a money move thing, and it didn't work out. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and maybe
makes me angry.
some exec who like maybe barely read the manga was just like, what? We have this many episodes before we can get to Norman, a beloved character in the first season? Bullshit. We'll just skip to that part. We'll just do a time skip.
Terrible.
It's terrible, but I feel like that's what happened. Please tell me in the comments if I'm wrong.
That's similar to how I felt it happened when I saw it, and I was raging because of it. I was like, this is bullshit.
How could you do this? It's so good. Oh, it hurts.
I have like in my soul, written down in my soul, when I become wealthy one day, they are redoing Haiku season 4.
Wow, she's very serious about
and they
this.
are I will pay for it out of my pocket. I will become a billionaire to get these shows done
right
correctly.
So it'll become a lifeless
Fuck starving children in Africa.
Maybe
maybe
I should start a program. I bet you people would join in and also like fund to have these shows and stuff, you know?
I would 100%. I would invest in that because if I knew I could make a difference in making the shows that I love a reality based off of the manga that I love, I would invest. I would invest ludicrous
Can we
amounts of money
please
to
talk
that.
about, you know what, since I just said it, can we please talk about Haiku season 4 because they did not deviate from the manga. They actually were more accurate to the manga, I heard, than other seasons, but they completely changed the animation. And I just don't understand fucking why. Why? They changed, the first 3 seasons of Haiku were literally perfect. Super realistic animation. I was in love. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. The stories, blah, 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 blah. The 4th season, they completely changed the animation style, and I literally cannot watch it. Now, I'm not picky about my animation, but 3 seasons. I spent years watching this show looking one specific way, and not only did they just change the animation, but it's actually bad. Like, it actually looks bad.
It looks bad.
It
right?
looks very fucking bad. Very bad. And then for the first 3 seasons, in the middle of every episode, Haiku fans know what I'm talking about. You're a Haiku fan.
I am a Haiku fan.
In the middle of every episode.
I'm not a Haiku fan.
He will be.
No, I won't.
Just give him time.
In the middle of every episode, they had characters hitting a ball. Like random characters. That's what they did for 3 seasons in the middle of every episode. In the 4th season, they changed it to fat crows flying around the screen with characters. Why?
That
Why?
close?
Why? Because the volleyball group, their mascot is a crow.
Oh, okay.
It's badass.
But
too.
they changed so much in the 4th season. I don't understand why they did that. And I'm livid about it because
because it's so weird to make last minute changes like that. On the one hand, somebody probably pitched it to where maybe there was a turnover of animators. Maybe it was cheaper to hire that animator. Maybe they felt it tested better with focus groups. There's a million reasons why it could happen. But it just seems so odd for an animation studio to take such a big risk with such a popular anime.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And to not keep making money. That's what seems odd about the media industry in general. It's like, if you know this is good and people will pay for it, why not do that thing?
Why the fuck are you changing it?
It's
like look,
if it's
go ahead.
that one saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
If it's not broke, don't fucking fix it. Okay, I almost have a problem with Attack on Titan, the final season, which I love, by the way. I almost have a problem with the animation because at times...
Marissa, who goes so hard for this show.
It is a masterpiece.
When it's not even over.
It's a masterpiece.
It's a masterpiece, but it's not even complete.
Bryson's salty. We had lots of arguments about this.
But I slightly have an issue with the animation. They change animation studios, I think, every season. But every season looks so similar.
Right.
So I don't have a problem with it. It's not jarring. You can kind of tell. But in this final season, they have added a lot more CG.
And
that's
true.
Some of the animation, sometimes the characters don't entirely look like themselves. I understand that they've aged by a lot, so I'm not super bothered by it. It's subtle enough to where I don't have a huge problem with it, but it like... Haiku season 4 changed every aspect. Like their facial structures are completely different. Their head size is different. Their eye size is different. Like it just looks.
So it's too different.
It's way too different, and it's bad. It feels like I'm watching a different show. It does matter.
That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, because that's why you're there. You're there for the show that you've grown to love and appreciate.
Right.
Although I will say with Attack on Titan, as long as we're talking, what we're discussing as a topic is when anime deviates from the manga, and there might be a million reasons why that happens. One of which is cost. The way a fight scene is portrayed in the manga might be simplified. Like, for example, when you smash something in an anime, sometimes they'll break it up into blocks because that's easier to animate than having jagged figures and jagged rubble. Do you notice as a anime viewer that's happening? No, you're like, that's a badass fight scene.
Yeah,
I like that.
Well, because you're not paying it, like you're not watching it that close.
So that difference is cheaper, it's better, it's faster, and it doesn't disturb your audience. With CG is a thing that's been rising in the animation industry because it's cheap and it's easier, but it is a jarring transition. It is not quite so simple, and people do notice. And I kind of somewhat commend Attack on Titan for their expertly done animation sequences, and really for them to, for this last season, put everything into story, into collaboration, and to be like, hey, we need to cut some costs into animation and still make it look decent. I actually think is a celebration of animation, but it is a risk. It's always a risk, and Haiku went because
here's my question. I know that anime is an industry. That's what we just talked about. That we just established that it's an industry. It makes a lot of money. Haiku was one of the most popular animes when it came out that year.
Yeah.
What year did it come out?
It's. I think it's still one of the like.
What year did it come out?
Actually, I don't know off the top of my head what year that it came
4
out.
years ago?
But I know Haiku was a very, very, very popular anime. One of the most top-selling manga. One of them.
Yes. My manga's not my favorite, but
yeah.
But
my question is, where the fuck is the money? Like where shouldn't they have an abundance of money?
Because
there's merchandise, there's like Haiku merchandise is now more everywhere than it was when I was watching the 2nd and 3rd season. I go to Hot Topic, I see Haiku merch. I go to this little Tokyo store in the mall, I see Haiku merch. I see Haiku merch everywhere. So I'm just like, if funding is an issue, I don't understand how. Because the 3rd season of Haiku was one of the most, maybe I have to look into it, but Haiku season 3, they shortened it to 10 episodes so they can, or maybe even less than that, so they can animate it beautifully. It was all
Right.
like one match.
Oh, wow.
So they cut the series down so they can animate it so well. So I'm just like, but this isn't even just like, okay, so when you watch Haiku, you see they use a lot of slapstick scenes. Like when they're not in a match, it's very cheap animation. It doesn't. It's a lot of still images. It's a lot of funny stuff. Like they do that to cut cost so they can animate the hype stuff better.
Yeah.
They could have still did that. They could have cut the cost a lot in every scene other than their matches but they actually changed the art style. So I just feel like it's not funding. They changed the art style, just not like not how much they can put into it.
You're right. Mm-hmm. You're right. That's a weird decision.
That's
to
a
make.
weird fucking decision.
Thought of that.
I just why did anime studios do this? Like I don't understand fundamentally. Like catching up to the manga, all of that, blah blah blah. But why deviate so much?
Like you
why do those
change
things?
the way you drew these characters. It's
Promise
astonishing.
Neverland, Haiku. I can't think of any other examples
That
where
changed the
they
animation?
have source
They
material
changed the
and they change the animation. It's so bizarre. I find it shocking.
They've done it with Attack on Titan, but I feel like it's progressively. They're like subtle differences, but they've gotten better.
Yeah, I think
Like
this
from the
season
first
is
season?
the most like different than all the last. I think the first 3 seasons I couldn't even really tell that it was a different
They're not
animation
bad
studio.
though. They're not bad. It's not bad at all. I think to where I can't watch the show.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
Haiku, how you're talking about was so bad.
I think that I think in my mind, reason why Attack on Titan the final season gets a big pass is also because the characters have aged. So who's to say that their facial features being changed isn't because they've aged? I give them a hard pass.
and the
for that
writing
kind
was
of a reason,
good.
too. Oh yeah, and the
Really,
fucking
really good.
the final season of Attack on Titan has been amazing.
Yeah.
With Haiku, it's like their characters. They actually in Haiku season 4 started the series off with the last scene from the 3rd season. And the 2 scenes have different animation, even though they're completely the same. So you can see them. They have videos on YouTube where you look
No
at them
fucking
side by
way.
side, and you're like, "Why did you do
Christ.
this?" My characters went from looking like men,
So-
even though they're in high school. They went from looking like men to looking like little boys because they made their eyes bigger and they made their faces smaller. And I'm like,
So this was a
"Ew."
problem in the community. This isn't just a you thing, right?
I actually haven't heard much outrage in the community.
Oh.
A lot of people are like, well, you know what? I like it. And I'm like, you know what?
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck your fucking self. Like, I love Haiku. I have 3 posters in my house, like
It's amazing.
figures, nano droids. Like, I love Haiku. I would watch it if I could, but I just feel like I can't.
I get that. So I feel kind of similarly, like tying it back to fillers, right? When you watch a show, you want to watch all of it because you like it. Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. You're like, I fucking love this
The big
show,
3.
and you want to watch everything on it.
three.
So why are there episodes that make you not want to watch it anymore? Why are there filler episodes where you're like a year or 2?
Dude, when Naruto had that 2-year,
That's
year
what
and a
I'm
half,
saying.
2-year filler.
You stop wanting to watch. Why would you create something where your audience doesn't want to watch anymore?
Yeah, why? Why? Please
That's
tell
what
us.
I find so I get wanting to fill up space. I get wanting to be like, oh shit, we have to produce content. But if it makes your fans stop wanting to watch,
Listen to this.
do better.
And when
it's like-
Naruto did that too, I'm like, oh my gosh, this fight between Naruto and Sasuke is gonna be so. I was like, we waited 2 years for this shit. I watched it. I was like, it was a solid fight, but it wasn't like. No, 2 years worth of like. I thought it was gonna be like this extravagant,
the
like
emotional payout.
I was like, that fight was good, but it was not that great. Like, it was a solid, dope ass fight, but it was not.
and I'm sure
like,
there
I
are
was
a
like-
million.
Worth it.
I'm like that is not even the best fight in the series.
They're
To
like,
me.
and then the fillers that they gave you, instead of just being like taking a break because they need that money, so they gave you the fillers. It's like, what is that saying? They're pissing on you without having the courtesy to call it rain.
That's right. Yeah,
Isn't it
without
like that?
fucking like just decorate. It's they're selling you shit. They're giving you shit, and they're saying it doesn't stink. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. They're selling you shit and they're saying that it doesn't stink. And you're like,
Also, this is just something that just came to my mind, but it's about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. People say that whenever I hear someone say that that's their favorite anime, it really makes me just look at them differently.
It is a
Because I'm just like, that's your favorite anime?
Wow,
JoJo's
you
Bizarre
went
Adventure?
right for the heart, huh?
Yeah, I really
he
do. I'm
sounds like me.
whenever I hear someone say that's their favorite anime, I'm like, they probably haven't seen a lot of great anime. Because
Okay.
Dude,
In defense of
sound like
JoJo,
me.
JoJo's weird, and it is wonderful in its weirdness.
I'm pretty sure it's good in some aspects, but I just
You have to
favorite
get far,
anime
man.
of
Guys.
all time, that show. Really?
What's up? What elitist statement are you about to
I
make?
just-
Yeah, I just made a statement. What is
Yeah.
it we used to do? Where is it? Oh,
It's bam.
it's been a while.
Bryson made a statement. It has been a while. What were you gonna say, Bryson?
It's just nice to hear someone say the things that I have said about other anime. I'm what some people would call an anime elitist. Some
You are.
people call me a gatekeeper. Guys, I don't put the energy out into the anime community. I just say when some people say that their favorite anime is this, I'm like,
That one?
Let's be honest.
Okay.
Sword Art Online. Let's just put it out there.
Yo, I was a fan until I seen this. Like, there was an episode where it was just so. It was like one of those bullshit things,
Yeah.
where like he should have died, and then for whatever reason
He just came back.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
literally he should have died. Like,
The first season I consider to actually be very, very good, and the rest don't exist.
maybe we should do another video about anime elitism and gatekeeping.
Hell,
That'd be
fucking
good.
that's. I'm sorry, that was a little hard.
That's a good idea.
I would love
Oh,
to do that.
I guess we should stick to fillers because I
Yeah, you're
I
right,
just
you're
felt
right,
like
okay.
going on a tangent right
yeah,
now.
I just made
Stop
that.
myself.
I'm sorry, I just made that statement because it just crossed my mind. I was like, I want to say this and put this out there.
We're advertising for our next episode.
Yeah.
Point is, filler is so strange because it can be very good. I feel like it shouldn't be so routinely bad.
Bad, I got you. But it is.
Full Metal Alchemist, not so bad. It's not amazing. To try to compare yourself to such an artist, such as the creator of that manga, and I
She
don't
is a
remember.
god.
She is a god. She's
She is all for one
amazing.
and one for all.
She's
She is the universe, and she's also you.
fucking amazing. No, she's amazing, and bet you guys didn't know that a female wrote Full Metal
A
Alchemist.
fucking woman.
Which
My
is so
Alchemist is
strange.
a great show.
It's amazing, and then to try to compare yourself to that writer and be like, what would I do? Not a bad job. Not
bad job.
amazing, and there's still a lot of flaws, but to try to do that with the restrictions you're put under is commendable. But why don't more? What?
I said, "Oh yeah, it is." Like, when
Oh,
you
I
think
thought
about
you
it
were
like
being
that.
sarcastic.
No. I'm like actually thinking about it, like trying to continue on from where they left off. This amazing story that they started in Fullmetal Alchemist.
Scary.
Yeah, and then time restrictions, right? Like they gotta pump this crap out.
Yeah,
And they gotta pump
get
it, out
it done.
fast.
And
Right.
while
Pretty
this
good
writer
job.
has had years of practice and stuff like that, totally reasonable for a deviation to not be as good as the original. But it goes further than that. It's not just, oh, that's not as good as the original. This is garbage. This is garbage. And it's not just occasionally. It's not even 60% of the time. It is 99% of the time that happens. So why? Like, is it really that fucking hard?
Yeah. I really would like an answer to this question. Why
Yeah,
do they
it's-
do this? I'm sure there are multiple reasons, but I have yet to hear anybody in the anime community talk about why
There are
they
fillers.
do this.
Why they do fillers badly?
Yeah, why they
Badly.
do.
Like, why not make it engaging?
Well,
in some fashion?
I think we know why they do fillers. Like it's totally for fucking money. Like they want
That's
to
what that's my
keep
answer.
pumping out content that has no substance.
I don't even
You're
blame
giving
them.
me watered down Kool-Aid. You're giving me
Yeah.
unflavored chicken. Like you're not giving me anything of value or substance. You know, it's like watery mashed potatoes. Like there's no fucking substance in this. What is this? Like
Give me
like
flavor.
meatless meatloaf.
Like,
Go
those
ahead.
fillers weren't in the Naruto manga, right?
No,
Yeah.
okay.
No.
So here's two more points I want to make before this ends. There are what you would consider to be filler in shows that are faithful to the manga. There's
Right.
one manga in particular, D. Greyman. D. Greyman is
seen that
amazing, and I love it. The anime is okay. The manga is phenomenal. I watched the anime first, and I'm like, and they show this thing where with a woman and a clock. And I'm like, this is filler ass shit. What the fuck is this? This is so irrelevant to anything I ever cared about.
Right,
I
right.
don't give a shit. And then I go read the manga and it's in there. And I'm like,
Oh.
what? This is
Yeah.
so jarring. It's like, it's so different. It felt exactly like a filler. Cut to couple hundred chapters later,
Oh.
100% necessary for the story.
Ooh.
I could
wow.
not
wasn't filler.
believe my eyes. I was like,
And that's
Jesus
in like a
Christ.
filler done correctly.
That's right.
You know
when
what?
it connects the dots like that.
That's
yeah.
Yeah,
right.
because then technically it's not a fucking filler. So that was
Yeah.
interesting because it pretended to be a filler.
that's
but it
exactly
wasn't.
right. You're like, okay,
I
sure.
actually think that the answer to the question how to do a filler right, I think it's just to make it funny. I was just thinking
Make it
about this
funny.
anime that I watched called it's very
It's
popular and it's new,
multiple answers.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
There's
Everyone
a
keeps
lot
telling
of
me to
like
watch that.
filler aspects to this show.
true.
Maybe not full ass episodes, but scenes that are definitely like they're just for humor. They're just funny, and
Right.
there's a lot of shows that do that. I guess not just Jujutsu Kaisen, but I think that if you had a filler episode that was literally meant just to make you laugh and be humorous, because we all love to see the characters that we like being in funny situations.
Yeah.
I think that would be a filler done right.
So if we could like essentially
I haven't
sum up
seen
our
Jujutsu
points,
Kaisen.
dude, fucking watch
I know, I
it.
need
Oh
to.
my
I need
god.
to
It
tell me.
actually is really
I actually
good.
want to start Dr. Stone.
Oh, you should watch that.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I know the second season's out and I haven't.
It's out.
Yes, it's airing episodes.
Wait, on what platform?
Crunchyroll, VRV.
Fuck.
How long is the first season?
The 24 episodes.
Only,
Okay.
yeah, it's not
20,
actually that
22.
long. Very good. Highly recommend it, especially if you're like a super nerd. You would fucking love it. Even if
I'm
you're not, you'll
Like
fucking
people
love it.
love funny stuff and people love romance. If you're gonna have a filler, like give them some like man.
See, I would hate both
Fillers
of
could
those.
just what?
I'm not the audience for that.
Okay, you're right.
That's fair.
Not
Well,
all the
Like
time.
especially
No,
romance.
you're
We've-
an audience.
We've
Especially
discussed
romance.
essentially
You don't
through.
like romance?
No, I don't. I've always say this. I don't even care for romance movies. I only like one romantic movie.
What about They
Well, no,
Came
no.
Together?
What is that one?
That was the comedy, romantic comedy that Jared showed you. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah. See, that was like I didn't
Paul
really
Rudd.
care for. I mean, it was cool,
That
but it
movie
wasn't
was
for
funny
me.
as hell.
That movie.
I like the Lake House.
The Lake House is interesting.
Yeah.
I like that one. But so essentially putting our characters into new situations that they haven't been in and making it enjoyable. We want to see their interactions. We want to make them enjoyable. Adding to the world in a way that doesn't affect the main plot, but definitely makes you understand these characters and their role more. And then just straight up backstory. Just straight up give them extra context. That's nice for people to have.
Yeah, I like that.
Those fillers are generally, I won't say they're good, but they're at least enjoyable, and some of
Better-
them are actually
right.
good.
Better than what they normally would give
Yeah.
people, which is robots and other random
Ostrich
shit. Like
ninja.
I hate when and then can we talk
Teddy
about
bears.
this isn't even a filler, but when like in Dragon Ball Super, when Android 17 first came back on the scene and Goku went to go get him. And by then this Goku he's God Goku. He's in blue and red, and they said that Android 17 was able to increase his power so much up to where he can fight with Goku in his red form, in his God form, from protecting the animals on the island from robbers. I'm like, hold up. So you mean to tell me Goku and Vegeta been literally training with angels and gods, and Android 17 is as strong as them, or can at least spar with them in their God form from fighting human robbers?
That's yes.
I was so disappointed. I actually stopped watching the show for a while. I was like,
That's
who
painful.
wrote this and actually like this is airing? It was like very ridiculous. It did not make
funny
any
to
sense to me.
You
You
know,
would stop. You're so outraged by a plot point
I
that you're
was
like,
so
I can't watch this anymore.
yeah. I was
I'm not
like,
gonna lie. I've
what?
done the same thing in anime where they so poorly explain something so
Yes.
fundamental, and you're like,
There-
okay.
I can't
I've-
ever forget about. There is no way fighting humans should. There's just no
Yeah,
comparison in the
like
power.
either you're an idiot for writing this, or you
Yes.
think I'm an idiot for consuming this and thinking that that's okay. Like,
Yeah, it is condescending.
Especially-
Fillers are often
I
condescending.
feel like as writers for that show too, for Dragon Ball, I'm like, if I feel like you have to be a fan to some degree. I wouldn't want to write that.
yeah.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I would not
who's
wanna write that.
writing this and being like, yeah, this will make it. And I understand, like, work. They might not give a shit. Like, this is my job. I'm not getting paid enough. Stuff like that. But this is kind of my last point.
Wow.
So weird off branch. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a phenomenal show. Highly recommend it. But the 7th and 8th season are particularly unique in the sense that they're terrible. The writer George R.R. Martin had written several books that the show had followed very faithfully up until about the 7th or 8th season, where he physically had not written those books. And it went to complete garbage. They deviated. Of course, they had to. But what doesn't make sense to me is they've been writing over a decade's worth of television, working with George R.R. Martin loosely, but they are still writers and directors. They had to make the dialogue. They had to do the blocking. They had to show which plot points were shown first. Why? They had the world in their hands. Everything. And they dropped it. Why?
Wow.
Why?
That's crazy. And they like if they could, as crazy as they could have wrote it and then been like, you know what, this really is not that good. Maybe we should just wait. Maybe.
I mean, I still liked them personally.
Okay, so this
I didn't read the books though.
This makes me think of something else that's very interesting. Avatar: The Last Airbender, the first original series, some of the best writing that I've seen in a show compared to like I've seen tons of anime, better than majority of the anime that I've seen. Amazing through and through. Legend of Korra, written by the same men,
More or less.
same universe, is so not good compared to Avatar: The Last Airbender. No offense, Legend of Korra fans, but like Korra is not nearly as good of a character as Aang. Like they're not that well written. It feels like a teeny bopper drama. Korra is not a good main character. There's not a lot of character development. Like, it's just black and white.
Was it Jamal who said Legend of Korra was better?
It was one of his friends.
Oh.
And I was like,
You would have stopped talking to Jamal. If that
okay.
happened. You would have stopped.
We would have
talking.
broke up. It would have been over. Sorry, babe. Like, our relationship is
That's
over
fine.
because I'm now, and this is brings back to what you said earlier. Like, when you say this is your favorite, like, you like Legend of Korra more than Avatar, I'm like,
It kind of puts things in perspective.
noted.
It puts things in perspective for
I love
Yes.
you.
Just
Oh my
like,
God.
oh,
Your combined judgmentality makes me incredibly
it's funny
happy.
because I got
love it
shitted
so
on
much.
because of me saying the same thing by you. You pooped on me because I said the same thing, but with other. Okay. Anyways.
It's amazing.
But
no,
like-
but I'm on board. Legend of Korra is not.
But
as
that's
good.
interesting because it's as if somebody deviated from Avatar: Last Airbender and made Legend of Korra, but it was the same writers.
Yeah,
So what we're talking about can even happen within the
same show.
within the same creators' minds. Like
and that's what's
that's
weird.
interesting.
It's a weird phenomenon where you have something that you're comparing Oh, you know what? Sequels are actually very similar in this regard. When they have something that's original and they are trying to deviate from it in any way, there seems to be something that causes a downgrade in quality. I don't actually know why.
Do you think that sequels always come from the need to want to make more money off of your original?
And
And that's why they are
Almost
lesser in
100%.
quality?
sometimes, yeah, probably most
Almost.
Because Legend of
100%
Korra came
right.
out not that long after Avatar Last. I want to know how much time they spent on the Legend of Korra versus how much time they spent on
think it's
Avatar
when
because I think it's
times.
correlated.
Something
to
is
the
so
quality.
popular, they're like, oh, we need to make more of this. And it's not going to be as good as what they first did.
That's so
Yeah.
shocking to me.
Because
It's-
all of the Legend of Korra characters feel like watered down versions of the Avatar characters.
And I feel, okay, so actually I think this is going to be a great example. So like when something is a massive hit, right? And they need to produce something quickly, and then usually the original is better. It's always great to be patient with it. Like Euphoria, for example. I'm pretty sure season 2 is going to be great.
It's
Like,
going to be.
I'm
yeah.
pretty, and the writer is really, really good. And even those two, part 1, part 2 episodes we got were great. So
Those were
yeah,
amazing.
they're moving at their own pace, which is great.
Which
They're
is
not,
why there was
yeah.
a 4-year gap from season 1 to 2
Yeah,
with
right.
Attack on Titan.
And thank
Yeah, I know.
Tomorrow's
No, I knew she was gonna say that.
literally
yeah,
sprinkled.
right. They're moving at their own pace, and it's been working.
I never forget.
And it's fair. I don't think we fully got to why fillers are so bad today. I don't even think we ever can. We'll probably do several
There's
episodes
a lot of weight
on
to it. Yeah.
similar topics.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things.
But essentially, it's a mystery. Honestly, it's still a mystery to me. It's like, why not just make it good? If you made the first thing good, making the second one as good might be difficult. But why make it garbage? I don't understand.
Why make it garbage?
I don't understand.
Does that wrap it up? for us?
I think it does. Do you have any additional comments?
Nah, No.
Redo Haiku season 4, please.
Fucking Promise
do it.
Neverland.
Please.
Soul Leader.
Why do you hate the community of people that
Begging
fund you?
That's so funny.
Come on.
That's funny.
It's disgusting.
Alrighty then, subscribe, share it to a friend or two if you want to. We'd appreciate that. And we will see you next time.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.